Okay, I'm prepping my machine, going out riding with the guys tomorrow, mostly back roads, and I put my bike up on my lift so I can give it a good lube job here and there, like the foot pegs. The shifter pivots, make sure that the shifter, the clamp isn't loose on the shift shaft. And if you ever have to take your shifter off and it's got linkage like this, you have to have 90-degree angles or it won't shift right. I remember the old 350 Honda Twins. People would stick them back on. They would take them off to move the shifter up and down, and the bike would not shift. I mean, it would not shift. And they would take it in the shop and say, oh, the transmission's bad. Well, nope, that's not the problem. So, lube your kickstand pivot. I had one of my kickstands break right there on a venture that I had, my first venture. The guy I bought it from had the side stand chromed, and I understand that chroming something takes the strength out of the metal. Well, I put the kickstand down and I was stepping off, and I had the bike behind me as I was stepping off, and this broke and that bike venture came down on the back of my legs. I didn't get trapped, but don't sit on your bike when it's on the side stand. Okay, I lubed the chain. I always lube my chains with 90 weight, and I lube the inside of the chain first so that it goes through the chain. I do one drop between each roller. One on each side, and then I put one drop, not on the roller, I mean the side plates, then one drop on each roller. And I do that while I'm spinning the wheel. It really doesn't take long. Then I'll get a rag and just hold that on there and wipe off the excess on the outside. And I clean my wheels while it's up on the lift. And if you think your chain might be going bad, or you're looking at a bike and you wonder if the chain's bad, okay, this has the required amount of slack. I checked it. It's supposed to have 20 to 30. That's 20, and it's got a little more than 20. All right, grab the chain right here and see if you can pull it. See if it moves on the sprocket. If it comes off the sprocket, the chain is worn and the sprockets are worn, and they wear together. You can't just replace the chain or the sprockets. You have to replace three things: the chain and the sprockets. And when you are, where is that? When you are lubing your chain, you want to find the tight spot. There is always a tight spot. And what I do is I'll put a mark on the chain. There it is right there. That was the tight spot, and I'll bring that back to the 3 o'clock position, and that's where I'll measure the chain slack. Okay, while you're working on the side stand, make sure your side stand safety switch is operating as well. I took my clutch and brake levers off. I'm cleaning them and re-lubing them, and there's the safety switch. Make sure that's working. I had one of those go bad on my FJ1200 once when I was over 100 miles from home, and my gauges started acting, my speedometer started cycling, and my tachometer, there was something going on in the electrical system. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, is this going to give me a problem here? You know, I'm pretty far from home. And so I didn't shut the bike off. I thought it may not start again. I rode it all the way home. Turned out to be the side stand switch was going bad. It wasn't making good contact. So you want to make sure that works. Give your wheel a shake. Make sure you don't have any slop in your swinging arm or in your wheel bearings. Check your wheel bearings, especially if you have had someone put tires on for you and you didn't do the work. You don't really want to tighten the hell out of these axle bolts, because the ball bearings in the back wheels cannot tolerate radial loads. When you tighten that, sometimes there's a spacer in the back wheel It could be metal. It could be, they used to be metal. Sometimes it can be plastic. And when you crank on that, you're putting a radial side load on that bearing, on those bearings, and you're crushing that spacer between the inner races. And that puts radial loads on the bearings. They will not last very long. Lubricated my brake pivot, cable end here. Same with this. Move that shaft around so you don't wear it in one spot. Lubricate it. These are off of a VFR 800. They're for a VFR 800 or 750. These were $10 free shipping on eBay. They're rubber topped. The stock ones are like this. You get all the buzz through the frame, through your feet, and that wears on you after hours. So I suggest using those. You want to clean your radiator of the bugs. You got bugs on your radiator. You get bugs on your windshield, your face shield. You also get bugs on your fork tubes. And when they dry on there, and your suspension has to go over them, the seals have to go over them, and the seals will get damaged going over bugs. So clean your fork tubes. If you have bugs on your face shield, your windshield, you got them on your fork tubes. Clean them. That radial loading on the wheel bearings is especially true when you don't have a cap holding one side up. I like those better, but you know, you don't, because you're bringing your forks in, you're binding them. The ones that have a cap, you tighten the axle up. It doesn't have to be very tight, and then you tighten that cap. After they suggest bouncing the front end up and down a little bit to get those forks to center, and then tighten that cap that holds the dull end of the axle on. I like those better. So, but you don't want to over tighten. And I switched to these. I call them Jesus clips instead of cotter pins, because you know you got to get that cotter pin out of there. If there's some reason you have to take the wheel off, or if you have to adjust your back wheel, and you know you have a all bent up cotter pin, and you can't get them out unless you have diagonals a lot of times. So I like these because you can use them over and over. I took off my clutch and brake levers, and I'm cleaning and re-lubing them. I did some thinking about how many times you pull the clutch lever in. Just to go from neutral to first up through sixth and back down to neutral again. You pull that clutch lever in 10 times. I'll bet you if you're driving around in city traffic or around, you know, you're not on the expressway, I'll bet you're pulling that clutch lever in between 300 and 800 times an hour. And if you're out for the day, you're pulling that clutch lever in thousands of times a day. So clean and lubricate that thing. I also lubed my clutch cable. Here's a cable oiler. This big end fits around the big end of the cable, the outer cable, like this, and you tighten it up and the gap goes away. Okay, and then you put the snorkel in that hole right there and pull the trigger, and that will lubricate your cable. This is a Yamaha cable oiler I've had for a long time. And you don't want to use WD-40 to lubricate things like your foot pegs, your shifter pivot, your clutch and brake levers, your chain. You don't want to. Why? Because WD-40 is not a lubricant, it is a solvent. WD stands for water dispersal. 40 means it was the 40th formula that they had to come up with. That if you had a wet ignition, like a distributor cap, years ago, you go through a puddle with your car and your car conks out, you spray it with WD-40, it disperses the water and the car will start. I've seen it. But it's not a lubricant, it is a solvent. What do solvents do? They will mix with oil and carry it away. So you want to use a lubricant. And this is grease with solvent in it. It sprays like a liquid, but as the solvent evaporates, it leaves the grease behind, and that's what I use in my cables. And I use white lithium grease. I already cleaned these out with a Q-tip. I've cleaned the perches out with a Q-tip. I lubricated the cable. I lubricated the ball end with white lithium grease. I've made sure that my side stand and my neutral switch are working, and I'm going to put it back together, and you will be amazed at how much that helps, just lubing those. I lubricated that wheel. It was doing this earlier. That's what it was doing. I lubricated this one. Look at that. One drop of oil. I'll do this one here. I'll work that in. That's a little better. My floor jack was dragging the back wheel, and the casters were not rotating. So I sat down for half an hour and lubricated all the bearings that the casters pivot on, and the axles and all the pivots, and that back wheel was not rolling at all. I put some oil on it, and look. Pieces of equipment, tools, motorcycles, cars don't wear out. They are neglected to death. So don't neglect your motorcycle. I had to add oil. I was done. It wasn't low, but I wanted to bring it up to the top full line. I use Honda regular oil, no super duper $18 a quart stuff, which I had to use in my Moto Guzzi Norge. These were 18 bucks a quart. It's 10W60. But I just use Honda. It's 4-stroke motorcycle oil. As long as you're using motorcycle oil, that's what you worry about, because motorcycle oil has increased levels of zinc and phosphorus to give the oil a higher film strength for clinging to the gears while they are meshing. Car oils are a lot different. Oils today, whatever they call for, is what you want to run, because oils are very different for cars and motorcycles and trucks. So that's all I use, is just regular. I think I got those on eBay, 2 gallons for $48 free shipping, and you figure it probably cost you 10 bucks to ship them. So I buy them 4 at a time. And I change my oil once a year. I don't really put a lot of miles on my bikes anymore. Sometimes I would only put maybe 1,200 miles on a bike, because at one point I had 8 motorcycles in here, believe it or not. I had to leave my tractor outside. I'm counting dirt bikes and trials bikes and street bikes. But anyway, I'm going to put these levers back on, all lubed up, and I've given everything that moves an inspection and grease. I had changed the shock on this. That's a shock off of a GSXR 600. That, the bar risers, the Corbin seat. If I had to say what is the best improvement you made to your machine, 75% was this seat. The stock seat, I would not have kept this bike if I could not have fixed the problem with the seat. That was a torture device, that stock seat. But that, I can actually ride this thing, you know, go out and ride for 8 hours. And this helped also, and the foot pegs, or the rubber on the handlebars, those soft grips, that isolated me from the tingle. through the feet, through the arms, through the butt. But give your bike a look over and check your water. I'm good, it's up to there. And that's pretty much it. Chains lubed, tire pressures are good. Nothing's loose, everything's lubricated. Give your tires a look over, check for sidewall cracks. Make sure you always run valve caps after you check your tire pressures, because centrifugal force and hitting bumps at speed will let air out of your tires. That's just about it. I'm ready to roll tomorrow morning at 7. See you there.